What is up, YouTube? It is your boy ChasmRift here, and today I got a special video for everybody. I know it's been a while, but a little over a week ago, I competed in the Indianapolis Regional Championship. It was the biggest VGC regional ever. We had played on Pokémon Champions for the first time, and we had over 1,000 competitors. Personally, I finished 5-3 at 243rd place and earned 60 championship points with a top 256 finish. So for this video, I'm going to go over my tournament run. At the end, I'm going to give my overall thoughts on my team, talk about the meta, and what's to happen next. I should have another video covering my indie team report if you want to hear my thoughts and tips about the team. It will be linked in the description, comment section, and on the screen when both are uploaded. So here's the replica code of my team. Like I said, the pace will be down below and all the other information. I ran a Mega Glamora and Mega Charizard Y team, and this team had some good sauce. I recommend seeing the other video to check what's under the hood of the car, however. Now for this video, I will be talking about the matches. I took some clips here and there, and I will show to give context on how the battles went, and to maybe give some of you the itch and encouragement to want to compete IRL. Also bear with me that I don't remember every battle and interaction. I was locked in at times, and also other stuff happened during the event that I will discuss. So round 1, I faced James, who was running a Cleavor team. Cleavor started to pick up in usage right before Indy due to his signature move Stone X, which sets up Stealth Rocks, which will mean any Charizard who switches in will lose half of their HP by default. Cleavor can also learn Fate, which nullifies Protect. If it runs the Choice Scarf variant, it is faster than Mega Aerodactyl if I remember correctly. And this Pokemon is a major disruptor to 2 of the 3 Megas people expected to see this weekend. The entire set was hard fought. He led Cleavor and Whimsicott game 1, I led King Gambit and Basculegion. My game plan was to counter him, was to take advantage of the fact that he was a Choice Scarf variant on his Cleavor. So I planned to just double target the Cleavor slot with my priority Sucker Punch and Aqua Jet. I could get an instant KO before Cleavor does anything should he attack. If the Cleavor switches, that's still Aqua Jet good damage going into wherever it switches in. And 2 out of James's 4 Pokemon wouldn't appreciate an adaptability boosted Aqua Jet. James did swap out his Cleavor, and he Moonblasted my King Gambit, which gave me a Defiant boost. It didn't really do much in the moment, however, but during the battle of Cleavor, it did come back out. I slightly misplayed on one turn. I don't remember exactly what I did with King Gambit, but opposing Aqua Jet got a KO into my King Gambit before I was able to attack their Cleavor. But I did get bailed out because Cleavor did miss a Stone Axe, which allowed me to Wave Crash KO and secure the Game 1 W. Game 2, they switched leads to Charizard and Whimsicott. I don't remember if it was exactly relevant, but I got a clip of Basculegion taking a Moonblast on 1 HP. James played really well. I got in 2 passive, and I got caught asleep behind the wheel with him because he encored my Spiky Shield on my Mega Glamora, which sealed up Game 2 in his favor. He won without losing a single Pokemon. Now Game 3, I decided to spin around the block with the same 4 of Basculegion, King Gambit, Whimsicott, and Glamora. For my clip I have, it looks like he went Cleavor and Basculegion to counter my lead. We played some good mons. There were some good switch-ins here and there, such as when I brought my King Gambit in to block an Encore from their Whimsicott, and at the last respects from their Basculegion that was meant to Oko my own Whimsicott. Then the very next turn, I swapped in Basculegion to block Encore again, since I went for Spiky Shield with my Glamora, and I also tanked a Wave Crash, which otherwise would have nuked my Glamora in that slot. We got into a 2v2 with my 1 HP Whimsicott, full health Glamora, versus their Basculegion and Zard Y. I told myself that we should be able to take a hit and win a 1v1 against Charizard, so I made the play to Encore Basculegion, which had just used Last Respects. I did this to stop an impending Wave Crash or priority Aqua Jet from hitting Glamora. I called the turn right as Charizard protected itself, and my Power Gem KO'd Basculegion to seal up Game 3 for me. It was a great battle. I chopped it up with James after the fact. Later on in the tournament we exchanged Discord handles, and was happy he made Day 2, which legitimized my first win in the Champions official in-person tournament. Round 2, I played against a Canadian in Zane, who ran a hybrid Tailwind Trick Room team. This was one of the matches where I found myself on the ropes and getting punished for mistakes. Game 1, I led Whimsicott Garchomp, he led Charizard for Farigiraf. I didn't know if he wanted us playing to set up Trick Room or to try to nuke me with Charizard since they had Helping Hand for Farigiraf. I knew the play was most likely to go Trick Room, but I wanted to try and damage the Zard, so I went for Rock Tomb, hoping to get a KO. They swapped in Sylveon, who happened to get his Speed Lord right before Trick Room went up, and from here on, it went downhill with Game 1. I was able to stall out the Trick Room, but Sylveon getting Helping Hand boosted Hyper Voices and Hyper Beams while being slower than my King Gambit thanks to Rock Tomb honestly sealed it for me. I had a slight out in game 1, but their Garchomp took an attack from my Garchomp and it survived on 8 HP from what my notes said, and that kind of sealed up game 1. Game 2, I made some adjustments. King Gambit did King Gambit things, and we won. Solar Power was huge because my opponent Mega Evolved their Charizard, which allowed me to do a unique play where I doubled Frigoraph with Adaptability Boosted Power Gem from my Mega Glimmora, and Solar Power Boosted Weather Ball for a KO. Again, I never calced nor practiced this situation. This was just pure vibes and instincts because I made a game-changing situation by putting Solar Power on my Charizard at the last moment. To be honest, I don't remember exactly how I won. I just remember they brought the same 4, and it was confirmed their Sylveon was faster under Trick Room due to the Rock Tomb that they experienced in Game 1, since my King Gambit was slower outside of Trick Room in Game 2. Game 3, they switched to their Aerodactyl variation of the team. I had a feeling in my gut that they would. I didn't bring my leads that could have countered such a decision. It was a hard-fought battle. I swapped Glimmora in on turn 1 to take a dual Wing Beat and get 2 layers of Toxic Spikes out. Then during the battle, the Spikes gave me a fighting chance. I was in a sticky yet compromised situation with their Sylveon and Basculegion versus my Charizard, and I honestly forgot who my partner was. But thanks to the poison buildup, I was able to finish off Sylveon. But due to the sun being out, Zane couldn't allow me to attack Basculegion with Solar Beam. So he was protect stalling to burn my final turns of sun. In response to this, I protected the next turn to give another turn of poison damage into their Basculegion. The final turn, I went for a Heat Wave. Basculegion survived on 16 HP. He was able to Wave Crash and win the match. I don't know the calcs, but it was either I go for Heat Wave and pray, or risk the entire battle on a 1 in 3 chance for a double protect. Overall, I wouldn't say I'm upset with the play that I chose, because in the bigger picture, it looked like it was the correct play. Otherwise, I'll be sitting here regretting not going for Heat Wave had I double protected and failed. And honestly, that probably would have dampened my mood and compromised the tournament run if I theoretically lost to a failed double protect while not knowing if Heat Wave would have won. Granted, we now know it didn't win me the game. It's been confirmed after the fact, but in the moment, we wouldn't have known had we gone the other route. But hey, at least I knew I tried to seize victory. Round 3, I faced William Stonecipher, and not gonna hold you, with a last name like that, I was expecting to face Cleavor. This was an interesting match. I believe this was Williams' first regional. I could be wrong, but I believe that's what they told me. They ran an interesting team that featured a dual weather and Hisuian Zoroark. Not gonna lie, game 1, they got me fooled with their King Gambit lead being Zoroark. There were signs going into the battle too, which was funny in hindsight. They were trying to lower stats with Icy Wind, which was a detriment to my Whimsicott and Garchomp lead. I had believed I left my King Gambit on the bench, which meant I had to deal with the potential speed drops, but I decided to roll with the punches. I decided to pivot around their Zoroark and funnel their partner slot. I essentially ignored the Zoroark and brought some hurt to their partner Whimsicott, Primarina, and then we got this beautiful screenshot of 2 shiny King Gambits on their side of the field, staring down the barrel of a loaded shotgun known as Garchomp and Mega Charizard Y. I was able to win out game 1, but I did face a fair amount of difficulty with their Primarina. Game 2 was a harder fought win. They brought a Lonely Ninetales to the mix, and the ability to double Blizzard and Primarina's Hyper Voice became a genuine concern to manage. To make matters worse, they had Bright Powder on their Ninetales. I was getting Vietnam flashbacks to how I got robbed of a Game 3 victory in the final round of Seattle by a Snowcloak Articuno a couple months prior. I admittedly gotten a little lucky though in this battle. In the battle, they had gotten into a position where Ninetales and Primarina had snow. I had my Megazord and King Gambit on the field. I had a Glimmora left in the back, but I couldn't pivot out yet. They went for a Blizzard that my Charizard protected from, and my King Gambit, who was around half HP, ended up taking the attack and stood on big business and stood on big business. Okay, words. They went for a Blizzard that my Charizard protected from, and my King Gambit, who was around half HP, ended up taking the attacks and stood on big business with 4 HP remaining. This was huge. This meant that next turn I could raw tag in Glimmora and reset the weather to Sun in the next 2 turns. Now it became their Ninetales and Primarina versus my Glimmora and Charizard under Sun. Now, not gonna lie, I tunnel visioned because I used Spiky Shield on Gomora and tried to Solar Beam their Primarina that protected. I forgot Ninetales is faster than both, and on top of that, they had Encore. My opponent, however, went for Blizzard, Charizard dodged, and Gomora hung on with 2 HP. My opponent later admitted they misplayed themselves and he realized they should have clicked Encore into my Gomora. I was able to beat them and keep it pushing into the next round though. Round 4, oh boy, this was a lot. So for those who did not know, Indy was a terrible experience. Half the bathrooms weren't working. I heard the drinking water wasn't working. I can't personally verify since I didn't go to the water fountains, but we sat down and we couldn't get any matches going. We were told there was an internet issue and majority of us couldn't play at all. For 40 minutes, we all awkwardly sat there. To make matters worse, they said we couldn't pull out our phones. Now, I understand why, because some people may have exchanged team sheets before the issue arose and possibly could have done some research on their opponent's team. But having to sit there, socialize, and no smartphone was a cruel and unusual punishment for us Pokemon players. Now, I played a real game like Pokemon Fire Red. Some dudes at the table behind me called out to me to share what my team was in Pokemon Fire Red. I told them what I was running in the game, and I'm not gonna lie, I love this community. Also, this message in-game felt a little too personal. Now, eventually they gave us a break for almost an hour and a half, which was nice, not gonna lie. We came back, and surprisingly enough, we could play. Played against Williams, and honestly, back-to-back William matchups are funny. This William, however, was running Paris Trap. I waited nearly 3 hours to play against Fake Out Protect Simulator. Jokes aside, this was a tough battle. I led King Gambit at Basket Legion because I predicted Sableye Gengar lead, and I was correct. I tried to use priority Aqua Jet and Sucker Punch play, but they were smarter than the average jabroni on Showdown. Seriously, people on Showdown, they allow their Gengar to take the hits, I don't know why. But that's beside the point. This was a battle where I honestly was getting a download on my opponent's tendencies, but I was not committing to my instincts. Lost game 1, wrote in my notes that their instant hung on with 1%. I don't know if that mattered honestly, looking back on it. We spun around the block in game 2 where we had the same leads, somehow won game 2 despite losing my Basket Legion early. Whimsicott and Charizard came up big, and then here we go into game 3. They finally brought out the Komodo on their team. I knew it would come out, but I left my Whimsicott in the back instead of leading. The combination of Soundproof plus Paris Trap was so much to deal with. They also OHKO'd my King Gambit with Iron Defense Body Press. I didn't know the calc, but in hindsight, I know I shouldn't have left my King Gambit hanging like that. Chopa Barrier, shouldn't have done it. I don't remember which battle it was, but their Incineroar did knock itself out with Fake Out into my Spiky Shield. And because I thought that was funny, I thought I should just share it here. I could have played better, especially in game 3, but Paris Trap is a 50-50 matchup, so I am not extremely upset about the loss. It's not like I lost a round to a team I have a positive matchup into. I'm going to try to speed through this a little bit, but round 5 we face Lane, and surprisingly my second Sneasler matchup of the day so far. This is a unique one. I led Whimsicott Garchomp, they led Milotic Garchomp. I double protected turn 1, just to scout. I saw that they coiled with their Milotic, and I proceeded to Encore them. This was an Encore fest, honestly. I did crit their Milotic, which sped up the match for me. They had difficulty breaking through my Whimsicott and Garchomp lead. I won without having to need to Mega Evolve my Glamora. Game 2, I did the same leads. Opponent led Incineroar and their own Garchomp. I swapped Garchomp out for Glamora. Then the next turn, I swapped my Whim out for Garchomp. Glamora did get Toxic Spikes out because I swapped it in early into the battle, and that's where we had fun. I had Tailwind, I got their Incineroar down to 10% HP. I knew they would swap out, so I Sludge Bombed that slot. Even if they didn't swap out, it was going to KO the Incineroar. Lo and behold, Incineroar swapped out into their Focus Sash Whimsicott. I got the Sludge Bomb off to knock them to 1%, and the Toxic Spikes got me what I consider a gentleman's OHKO. So no speed control for the remainder of the battle for my opponent. It was a good match, but I secured game 2, and we kept it pushing into round 6. Round 6 was a nightmare matchup on paper. Good thing I didn't feel this way during the battle, cause I probably would have gotten in my own way versus Nathan and his Delphox Aerodactyl dual mega team. I was not concerned with 5 of the 6 Pokemon he had, but Delphox. This thing is a menace. Just look at these stats, man. Like, it has a billion base special attack and it's faster than my entire team. When I was a teen, I reported the Call of Duty Infinite Warfare reveal trailer for terrorism. This Pokemon is an actual terrorist.
Get your fat ass in the car, we gotta go.
Gun to your head, spit a Birdman verse.
That ain't no gun, that's a meteor.
The gun's metaphorical, but your life being on the line is real.
Who the fuck got Birdman versus on standby?
Richer than the richest, we certified getting it. CM, YM, cash money business. Higher than the ceiling, fly like a bird.
How the fuck do you know this shit?
Do you want to live or not? You know what? I'll let it slide.
Game 1, they decided to leave Delphox on the bench. I went for Whimsicott and Garchomp, I believe. Did protect Whim and got in a big hit into their Garchomp. I thought that they dual wing beated my Whimsicott, so I swapped it out into Glimmora and got in double layers of Toxic Spikes out. To make matters worse for them, they swapped King Gambit in the same turn, so that means their Garchomp, who was now put into the back, was going to get poisoned upon their eventual switch in. I also Mega Evolved my Glimmora. We had what I wrote in my game as a textbook Game 1 victory, because everything just went downhill for my opponent Game 1. Game 2, they finally brought Delphox, and it wasn't so scary. It was scary, don't get me wrong, but they were in a 3v2 with Mega Delphox and King Gambit versus my Glimmora, King Gambit, and a third mon. I believe it was Whimsicott. It didn't matter. I went for Sucker Punch to Oko, the Delphox, and we moved on to round 7. It was after I texted people updates that I realized I really brought Pokemon who had the worst possible matchups ever into a landmine, and somehow we came out alive with the W. Round 7 was against Nicholas. I gotta be real, I'm not saying this because I lost, but I don't remember too much from this battle. Nicholas played really well. He dunked on me Game 1. It was so bad that I had Glimmora as my only Pokemon left versus his entire team. I decided to forfeit instead of revealing Glimmora. For those who don't know, you don't want to reveal information unnecessarily to players. You want to keep your cards to your chest in a tournament setting like this. Game 2, it was the same shebang. I didn't really leave any notes for this battle besides the fact that their Mega Floette did outspeed some of the Pokemon on my team and got huge damage off. This was a really strong win for my opponent and one of those matches where I couldn't do what was needed to win a game, let alone the entire set. Round 8, we were now 4-3 and we're battling John, who had a hybrid Paris Trap team. I felt better about this matchup than round 4 because no Komodo and no Sableye to disrupt me. Game 1, I lost Basket Legion pretty early, but I was able to play around their Paris Trap and took a decisive Game 1 win. Game 2, I decided to spin around the block with my usual Basket Legion King Gambit lead. They brought out the big guns with Sneasler on lead with Gengar. Now, we have been quiet about Basket Legion so far, but this is where Basket Legion decided to shine. I read their team sheet again and realized they weren't White Herb, but actually Focus Sash Sneasler, meaning Unburden would not become a factor unless I attacked them. Turn 2, I tailwinded and went for a Wave Crash into Mega Gengar because I was ready to go ban for ban with the opponent.
But did you just say ban for ban?
They must have predicted Last Respects or possibly me encoring them if they did go for a status move, so they swapped to Incineroar. Basket Legion at -1 hit Incineroar with the Spear and got in the Oko to my surprise. They brought the Gengar back in, and now our base 100 Last Respects, thanks to Whimsicott getting dropped that previous turn, thank you Sneasler, allowed us to take care of the Gengar. I almost misplayed when it was Sneasler and Dragonite versus my team. I believe I either protected King Gambit or I doubled the Dragonite, but I basically left their Sneasler unattended. But my opponent openly admitted they misplayed. They accidentally close combated my Basket Legion slot. I was able to KO the Sneasler, and I forget if either Game 1 or Game 2, my King Gambit took a hit and stayed on 1 HP, but yeah, that happened, and I allowed my Basket Legion to get its 4th KO of the battle against their Dragonite to win me the set. After I won, I was so relieved and happy. I was a little nervous for the final standing because the top calculator I used said roughly half of the 5-3 players wouldn't get points since we barely missed out on the number of competitors needed for top 5-12 to earn points due to the kicker rules. It's complicated, but we didn't have enough people to allow top 5-12 to get points. I checked and I finished in 243rd place. Overall, the team did their thing. You heard me highlight incredible moments and how everyone played their roles beautifully. For those who are afraid to use a Pokemon like Mega Glimmora or anything with a 4x weakness that isn't a support Pokemon, don't be. If it's powerful, it's powerful. Just trust your own skill, be aware of what's in the meta, and know that a game like Pokemon, you simply cannot coast to victory in every battle. I do have awards for the entire team. Glamora gets the MVP award, Whimsicott gets the Assist award for being a great support Pokemon. King Gambit gets the Clutch award for having so many matches where it barely hangs on and allowed for me to have the keys to victory. Garchomp gets the Consistent award for being the pillar that stood tall and strong against all the adversity we faced that weekend. Charizard is the Weather King award. I know it sounds lazy since it's the only weather setter on my team, but we have faced 5 opposing Charizard-wise, 2 snow teams, and we were able to maximize sun in our favor, whether it be utilizing solar power, not missing Heat Wave, or smacking their water types with Solar Beam. Finally, Basculegion gets the WTF Moment award for absolutely dominating the final battle of the tournament run. So here's the list of all the Pokemon I battled. I know I must point out that just because the Pokemon is listed didn't mean I faced them in that particular round that they were on the team sheet. As you can see, I ran into only one Floette in the entire tournament. I faced 5 different Mega Evolutions, which honestly, I think that's a good amount if we don't account for the fact that I faced 5 Charizard-Ys, and some of these teams ran dual Megas. The only weathers I faced this entire weekend were snow and sun, surprisingly, and no hard Trick Room. Of course, these things were definitely at the tournament. I know there are people running sun, I know there are people running sand, rain, Trick Room, snow, etc. But I can only play what I am paired with, and my experience doesn't embody the entire event. So take this tier list and my battle experience with a grain of salt. I think there was a good balance of Pokemon overall, evidenced by only 2 Pokemon are in the 4s and 5 categories each for the number of rounds that I faced them. Overall, I am happy with this performance. Here are my showdown stats. I haven't even hit Master Ball Tier Champions for Season 2 as of this recording. In fact, I only done 2 grassroots tours, finished 3-3 in both of them, and only one of them actually I utilized this team. This may not seem all that impressive, some of you may even think that this isn't worthy of any real praise, but for those who have heard me speak in the past or talk to me personally, it has been well documented the number of times I have bubbled outside of points. I lost the final round in tournaments where a victory guaranteed high enough placement 4 points, or just flat out had a terrible performance when it mattered most. But hey, I finally broke through this invisible barrier, and as such, I foresee future higher placements. I see consistency earning points at regionals, and I do have a long way to go, but I look forward to next season. I actually want to travel internationally for an event or 2 if the stars align. I look forward to the 2026-2027 season under Champions, and I hope this video inspires some of you to go play VGC and maybe compete IRL. It's a great time. And I also like to throw in there that I plan to make some day 2s this upcoming season, but that's it for me, y'all. I hope everybody has a great day. I hope everybody likes this video. Share it if you have people who are interested in VGC who may want to check out someone's tournament experience. Give me a comment down below what you think about the team or my tournament experience or what you'd like to see going forward. And I'm about to get out of here. Hope everybody has a great rest of your day. Also, follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/ChasmRift. We play Pokemon over there. So I'm about to get out of here, y'all. Everybody have a great day. Stay safe. And yeah, peace.